Hi there. I'm happy to share with you the core of our data model, and that's the data model of the Uffective application. So it's not of our data warehouse solution called Uffective Connected Multi-Cloud. So what you see over here is a core element of our database. That's an item. And what you see with this arrow is that there is a multiplicity, that one portfolio can have multiple items and sub-portfolios. So one item belongs to one sub-portfolio. So what you see over here is an item belongs to a sub-portfolio, and a sub-portfolio belongs to a portfolio, and a portfolio to a customer. That's the one core of our data model. What does that mean? So item, sub-portfolio, portfolio, and customer. Let's have a look at the application. So what you see over here is an item. So this digital mobility platform is an item. This item has an ID, a unique ID. This is the item ID, which, by the way, is now the same as the item code. The item ID is always unique in one instance. The item code could be reused across portfolios. So you can have a product portfolio and a project portfolio both using the same item code. They will never have the same item ID. So this item is from the digital mobility platform, and it is in the sub-portfolio B2B. Other sub-portfolios are B2C or Division G or other sub-portfolios. And those sub-portfolios are then within the portfolio project. You can't switch the portfolio project here. You can switch the sub-portfolio. And they all belong into one customer, a customer like Bayernwerk or Avacon. Those are our customers. So that's one line within the database. That's this line. If we then are in a portfolio, this portfolio can have multiple attribute groups, and those attribute groups can have multiple attributes. And the attribute groups are allocated to page views. So what does this mean? This portfolio calls page view, the attribute group, and the attribute. These are page views. The topics you see over here, these are page views. And each page view, like for example, this cover page, has one or more attribute groups. Description is an attribute group, gate is an attribute group. But if you scroll down, you see that there are more attribute groups. Within those attribute groups, you can find multiple attributes. Project description is an attribute, customer benefit is an attribute, mandatory is an attribute. So that's what's being defined over this line, and it's defined on portfolio level. What you can see in the application is that this item called Digital Mobility Platform has for the attribute project description a certain value. That's this value. And for mandatory, it has also a value. That's this tick in the box. So how is that stored in the database? In the database, you can see that an item and an attribute are related to each other over the portfolio, but also through item attribute, for example, string. A string is a text field, so this is a string. And in entering this content in here, you enter in item attribute string a certain value. And you say this item, being this item over here, and this attribute has this value, and that's stored in item attribute string. If you got a rich text where you get, for example, pictures in there, that's stored in item attribute rich text. Item attribute Boolean stores the Booleans, like this one. And there are a lot of these types of item attributes where we store the data, the values of those attributes. It is always stored with a changed by user ID, so that you know who has made the change. And it is stored with a date, so on what date was it changed. And it has a value. So this value would, for example, be a 1 for this case. And for this case, it's the conditional, blah, blah, blah. So this text is that a value. Some attributes hold history. If they hold history, then we store not only the latest version, where the isLastValue flag is true, but we also store the more previous versions. so that you can see how the changes have happened over time. So thank you for your attention. This was the first introduction into our data model.